Talking about the people.
Okay. All right. I keep it straight.
Oh, Josiah.
Yes, sir.
I remember it because that's the king's name.
Oh,
That's
Josiah?
the good king.
Oh, yeah, the good king.
I remember his name.
Get a big order. Like we for the
He's already filled up with one.
I see.
It's not something else.
Oh, what I'm saying, cause I am.
Well, I'm going to get started. Huh? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Y'all glad to be here? Come on, tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Okay. Okay, Josiah said yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Matters, it's Josiah.
Okay, y'all kind of pay attention to me. Okay, buddies? Okay, there we go. That's a good name. Okay, we're in the book of 1 Samuel, and of course, you know, us, the ones that were in Wednesday night class, you know, we studied the complete book of Samuel. Now we're in Kings, and then it's Second Kings. But Samuel, okay, we'll be talking about is basically his birth, you know, and the things that actually, the lesson is more or less about Hannah, his mother, more or less than it
A
is
few minutes to sit down and talk to me.
of him. Yeah, it's more about his mom, Hannah, which was Samuel's mother.
Right.
And we'll get deep into it as we go. Lord Jesus, once again, we lift you up. We thank you, Lord. Father, I thank you for the ones that's here, the young men that's down here, Lord, to hear in fellowship about, around your word, Lord. And also the ones, Lord, that is on the way, Lord, that maybe haven't got there yet, Lord. But Father, the main thing, Lord, is that we learn more about the Samuel, one of the greatest prophets, Lord, also he's a priest, Lord. And Father, as we go through this word, Lord, let our ears be open to what you would have for us this morning. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, we'll be starting at Hannah and Samuel. Actually, the book is Samuel, but basically it's talking about Hannah. And actually, all of these lessons, the last 4 or 5 lessons, have been about the great women of the Bible. And next week, we'll be talking about Mary. And then it just goes on and on. But basically, it's about the great women of the Bible. Okay, and we'll be in 1 Samuel chapter 1.
Verse 5.
Oh, y'all start at 5? I'll start at 1. And somebody can pick up at 5. Now there was a certain man of I can't pronounce the city, of Mount Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of, I see why they didn't difficult to say really, but I'll go ahead and read. The son of Discipline, the son of that. In other words, it's talking about her father. I can't pronounce all these names. It's talking about Samuel, it's talking about Hannah's husband. Actually, this is what it's talking about. And he had 2 wives. The name of one of his wives was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peniel. And she had children, but Hannah had no children. Okay, let me just back up because I kind of, got this kind of confused. It's talking about basically her husband's father and where he was from. He was from the tribe of Ephraim. Okay. And it was a man named Elkanah. Elkanah had 2 wives. Now I know today we call it polygamy.
Right.
But back then, okay, David had many wives. Okay, Solomon had up to wives. But he had 2 wives. one was burned and one wasn't burned. And Hannah was burned. In other words, she could have no kids. Do y'all young men understand when the Bible speaks about someone being burned, what that means?
Yes.
What does it mean?
So what do you mean, Riley? They just said it.
Being burned.
No.
Good. When the Bible speaks of a lady being burned, like Sarah was burned, Abraham's wife was burned. That just means when you see it in the Bible, that means they couldn't have any kids. I'm out. Wait, go ahead. Get up here. That means that they, when they burn, means that for whatever reason, they could not have kids. And actually, back during that time, that was looked upon as a curse.
Right.
You know, y'all gonna have to be quiet. Okay? If not, y'all gonna have to separate. All right? Okay. Yeah. In other words, and it was looked down upon a woman if she couldn't have kids. And because, you know, there wouldn't be nobody to carry, you know, the heritage.
Yeah.
And also, believe it or not, for working, you know, in fields and stuff. In the book of Genesis, God spoke of them to have the quiver filled. That means the more kids you had, the better it was.
Right.
And you know, it's the thing I'm thinking now. Back during the day, even here in the United States. Now I don't know how many. I mean, I only had one brother and one sister, but my father had 9 brothers, and my mother had, I think it was 11 of them all together. You know, people had a lot of kids back then.
Right.
Still, and I know. From being down south, I know you know families that had a great amount of kids. Yeah. That was a blessing to have a lot of kids.
One
Yeah.
family, the Branch family, they had 21 kids.
Woo. Matter of fact, well, you know, they're my age, and most of them are gone now. But Sister Wilson probably knew some of them. Did you know? You know the Huff?
Huff? Yes.
Oh, they must have had about 15 kids altogether.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jesse got some kids by him.
Huh?
My cousin got some kids by him.
Yeah, there was a lot of them. And every one of them had nicknames, just about.
Oh, yes.
Can't go that way. Can't go that way.
Thank you.
Yeah, but every one of them had nicknames.
Right. Yeah, everyone had nicknames.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a big family. It was about 15. I know it was at least that. You know, and like, you know, most of them are gone now. You know, most of them were my age. A couple of them were older than me. But that was a big family. But back then, people, as more now, you know, and not, it's just the world changed. A lot of times now, women, a lot of your younger women, I would say the millenniums and down below, they don't want a lot of kids. They want to work
Yeah.
their career, you know, and rather than to have kids. That was never God's design,
Right.
you know.
You're right. But now that everything pretty much look like switched around.
Yeah.
Women's working and the men staying at home.
Yeah, that happens. That happens a lot too. But it's completely changed. Now, you know, it's like the less kids you have, the better off you are. You know, they don't want a lot of kids.
And, you know, back then, you didn't care how many kids you got because you know you had to feed them anyway. But now, I can't have kids now because I ain't financially stable or I can't afford them.
But you know what? You never worried about that.
No.
You know, because, okay, now, when I grew up, okay, my mother worked. She used to do a little domestic work around, but
Right.
she never really had a full-time like job. And my dad, he worked, but just maybe a little bit more than minimum wage. But now I didn't eat steak every day, but always ate every day.
Hey,
Yeah,
I was hungry.
yeah, right. I can never know
Starved.
going to bed hungry.
Right.
So because not so much as my dad, but my mom trusted God.
Yeah.
she trusted God, and He always provided. You know, we didn't have a lot, but we had what was necessary.
Exactly.
You know, and like you said, now people don't want it because they say, "Oh, well, I can't afford a kid." Well, you couldn't afford it now, but you just trusted God, and God provided.
Exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't that. You know, you didn't count that as whether you should have a kid or not because I don't have enough funds.
Right.
And then back then too, neighbors used to help you too.
Yeah.
It's just changed so much now. Okay. Okay, what I left off of 4 to 3. Okay, well, yeah, I left off where we talked about how Hannah had no children. Okay, well, someone want to pick up at 3? Oh, you don't have 3, do you?
5. Read 5.
Okay, well, let me go ahead and read 3. And this man went up to the city yearly to worship and to sacrifice unto the Lord of hosts. And the 2 sons of Eli was a priest. And we'll hear a lot about him lately. Hophni and Phinehas were his sons, and they were priests unto the Lord. And when the time was the Elkanah offered, he gave Peninnah his wife, and to her sons and her daughters portions. But Hannah, he gave a worthy portion, for he loved Hannah, but the Lord had shut up a wound. In other words, once again, it says that she was burned. It just used another phrase here, shut up a wound. Now, you remember that Elkanah had 2 wives. One was named Hannah, and the other was named Peninnah. He had 2 wives. And you know that never got along because later on, one was Peninnah was taunting Hannah because Hannah could not have children.
Right.
And that's the same way Rebecca, which Isaac, Rebecca's brother Laman, okay, I don't want to get into that because it's too long. But it was the same thing then. It was 2 wives, but one was at odds against the other.
Right.
Because one could have one was burned and the other wasn't burned. Okay, do y'all have 6?
Yes. Riley gonna read.
Okay, there we go.
And her adversary also provoked her sore, to make her fret, because the Lord had to shut up him.
Okay, now I'm gonna just break this down a little bit. And it says, and her adversary. What is the adversary?
An enemy.
There you go. One that's arrayed against you. And who is our greatest enemy?
The devil.
There we go. Come on, Riley, you got it. That's right. He's our greatest enemy, and he's the enemy to everyone that called on the name of the Lord. The devil's your enemy. Now, he might speak to you, but he ain't your friend. He definitely ain't your friend. And here she was talking about, and her adversary, who was she talking about then?
The devil.
Huh?
The devil.
No.
What's the other one?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, the other wife,
Oh.
Peninnah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you remember she was taunting her because Peninnah had kids. Peninnah had kids, but she couldn't have kids. So this is where there was a struggle in the family. But the Bible says that he still loved
Hannah.
Hannah, even though she was burned. You want someone to read 7?
We ain't got 7, we got 10.
I'll go ahead and read 7. As he did year by year when he went up to the house of the Lord, so she provoked her, therefore she wept and did not eat. In other words, Hannah wouldn't eat because she was the girl, Peninnah was provoking her. Then Elkanah, her husband, the husband to her, Hannah, why are you weeping thou? And why thou eatest not? In other words, why are you not eating? And why is your heart grieved? Am I not better than 10? Am I not better than 10 sons? In other words, why are you weeping? You know, he's asking her, her husband is asking Hannah, why are you weeping? And it says here, well, y'all don't have this. It talks about how Peninnah, true character became obvious. In other words, it just talks about how it became obvious. And it talks about how she continued to plague Hannah because she was burned. In other words, you know, 2 wives living in the same house. You know, one was burned and one wasn't burned. And I'm just going back to start the word. Hannah Elkanah had 2 wives, one Peninnah and the other Hannah, and of course we all know Hannah was burned. And there were many women in the Bible that was actually burned. Sarah, of course, Hannah,
What, Sarah, Hannah,
Rachel?
Rebecca was, she was
No, Rachel.
Rachel. Was,
Yeah, because you remember it was Rachel and what was the other name? She could have kids, but Rachel couldn't.
and, Aaliyah.
Yeah. That was she was also burned.
All of them, right? And it's for
Samuel's mother,
right. That's
Samson's mother. It don't say what her name was, but Elkanah was Samson's father.
and
But it don't mention the mother's name. But she couldn't have kids either.
Elizabeth was another one.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Elizabeth. But these women were burned, and I'm just thinking to the kid. What do we mean once again by burn?
And
That,
Look,
go ahead. Either one. Go ahead. I just explained. When the Bible speaks of burn, what does it mean?
no kids.
There we go. The woman couldn't have kids. I'm kind of breaking it down a little bit since they down here too. Yeah, that means that they couldn't have kids for whatever, you know. And back then, many times they were taunted because they thought it was a curse. And it was a thing, according to the people. If a woman couldn't have kids, they think maybe it was sin or maybe a curse was upon them.
and Elder Hazar, the one that Elisha. The one
Oh yeah.
I said Hazar, but that,
No, it wasn't the Shunammite. Yeah, it was the Shunammite woman, wasn't it?
yeah, right,
You remember, because Elijah used to come through and they made a little room for him
Right.
to sit and everything. And he said, "You've done so much for me. Is there anything I can do for you?" She said, "I go childless." I
Right.
love this. Yeah.
Right.
And he said, "Next year, this time, you will have a son."
right.
And then, of course, we all know the story. I ain't gonna get into it, but the son died, and you remember, she had to go for it. I said, "Don't you lie to me, this man of God," you know, because the son died.
And she told them don't stop going till you get to them. You get a hard riding Saturday.
Yeah. Said, move on, don't stop, don't salute nobody. I don't care who it is, just keep going. I got to get to the man of God. Okay, yeah, but there was a few women in the Bible that was actually burned, but God opened their womb. And I like this woman, or just like Hannah, these women weren't sinners, you know, because back during that day, they thought barrenness was a curse. In other words, they had committed a sin or committed sin, and this is why God has shut the womb, but this is not necessarily so.
Right.
So this proves this right here. Okay, where'd I leave off at? I'm down to 9.
And just add one.
Oh, go ahead.
Just a little touch that too. A lot of those in the Old Testament too, in the scriptures that the one that God closed their womb up, that they don't have children. They usually that person come out to be someone special in the sight of God.
You get the head of.
Okay.
That's what happened. This is basically the story here.
Okay. Well, can I?
Because that was Samuel's mom.
Can I throw one, ask you one other one too, is important too in scriptures, is Joseph's mother, and
Yeah, that was Rachel.
was it that Joseph?
Yeah, at a young age.
Right, at a young age.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Rachel.
Rachel.
Because you remember the story of who was Isaac and Jacob and Isaac? Wait a minute. Yeah, it was. You remember Laban was the brother.
Right.
And he wanted Rachel, and he worked 7 years, and they did a swap on him. They gave him Leah. So he had to work 7 more years for Rachel. Those numbers again, 14, 7, and 7.
And, you know, and work all those numbers a year and still didn't have a child by her. His
Right.
favorite wife.
Yeah, Rachel. Rachel was the favorite. Yeah, Rachel was the favorite. But he pulled, Laban pulled a swap on him because actually, this ain't part of the lesson, but actually one of the names was Jacob before, of course, we all know that he found favor with the Lord, but it was trickster. You remember he tricked his brother and he got tricked.
He got you.
Yeah. Laban tricked him. Yeah, he tricked his brother and Isaac, and then he got tricked. Okay, now we are 1 Samuel 1:9.
We got 10.
Okay, yeah, 10. You can go ahead and read 10. Someone can go ahead and read 10.
And she was in bitterness of soul and prayed unto the Lord and wept sore. And she vowed a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt needed indeed look on the affliction of thine handmaid and remember me, and not forget thine handmaid, but with it give unto thine handmaid a man child. Then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall not razor come upon his head.
Okay, yeah.
So that's
This got a lot of it.
So that'll be Samson then, right?
No,
Huh.
Samuel.
Samuel.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, with Samson was the same thing. But,
Yeah,
but
because they were Nazarite.
Nazarite.
That was a strict rule of the Nazarite. I don't know whether it said it, but they're not to have any strong drink, not a razor upon their head. Anybody else in Nazarite?
Well, Samson was in Nazarite.
Yeah.
You said Samson, right?
Yeah, Samson so far as Samuel. Now, this could be confusing the Bible said Jesus Christ was from Nazareth, but this was different.
Right.
This is like a religious vow. This was like a religious vow. Nazarene.
Right. And usually they were holy men
Yeah, yeah.
as well. You know, it was not like an Enoch. Like
Okay.
You know how Enoch could be. They dedicate themselves to those Enochs.
Yeah.
Right.
What is?
But the Bible says some was Enoch, while some made themselves to be
Yeah.
Enochs. So and they was
Well, some were forced and some were volunteer.
volunteer to be.
Yeah, some are volunteer. But the thing is, okay. Now she dedicated her son, and she's making these promises. Actually, when you say, young men, anywhere time you see vow in the Bible, it means promise. In other words, she promised the Lord that if you would let me have a man child, that I'll dedicate it to you.
And so,
Now she made the thing about the Nazareth, but if you remember Samson, God directed the mother what to do, that no razor should come upon his head.
Oh.
It was God that made the directions and actually gave her a lesson in prenatal care. No, yeah, he told Samuel's mother.
right. Because now the difference, I guess, the difference with him and Samuel is that he was going to be Samson was not only going to be a judge of Israel, but he was going to be a leader of Israel too. He's going to be a powerhouse. Versus Samuel,
Well, yeah, he was
a warrior, like a David. He was a warrior.
Yeah.
Samson was not just going to be a judge.
a deliverer.
He was delivered. That's
Yeah,
the word,
'cause he
right.
delivered the
gonna be-
Philistines.
Right, he's going to be a deliverer.
Yeah.
So God appointed him as a Nazarite, but yet same token, he had a different mission.
Right.
A different mission, but he wanted to be a lover boy. You know, he didn't. He
Yeah.
wanted to be,
Got his hair cut in the wrong barber shop.
Exactly. He wanted to fight and do the will of God.
Yeah, we better take.
God wanted him to destroy the Philistines, but he was taking them out left and right.
Yeah.
Well, no. But even before, now we hear about Delilah.
Right.
But he had the same thing in mind. He did the same thing before Delilah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because his mother said, all these nice women in Israel, why you gotta go over to the enemy and get
And,
yeah,
and what his words was because I what? I want her.
yeah, get her for me.
Right. I want her. You get her for me. And so now, with the respect for the parents. He
Oh,
had
yeah,
respect
yeah.
For the parents,
Right,
because I said get her for me. And so now you're gonna get the enemy, and you're gonna marry the enemy.
but even though he did all that, God's hand was still upon him.
Because God put a mission on him.
Yeah, his
God
hand
sent
was
an
still
angel-
upon him.
God sent an angel down. To tell her,
Yep.
You know,
Even though he, as disobedient as he was,
it's very few that God sent angels down for. Elijah. What's called too? John the Baptist. God sent an angel down.
oh yeah,
You know, hey, he gonna
to
be
speak,
this, and his name shall be called.
told him what to name. Yeah, but that's the difference between Hannah had made the promise to God that she was going to more or less make him a Nazarite, but God, in a sense, told Samuel's mother what not to do. Not, a razor wasn't upon his head. He was not to never drink no strong drinks.
But Delilah wouldn't have knew it unless Samson wouldn't have told her that to
Yeah.
open his eyes. And,
Yeah, well, but he came, but he felt weak in the flesh.
yeah, we all
Yeah, like
Right.
you can. Let me leave that. You know how men are; they can get weak.
especially
And they knew that, so they put her on him more or less.
Right.
They put her on him. But his strength wasn't in his hair. Let's get that straight.
But what the Lord said it was.
No, the Lord did not say that.
No.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't. The strength was not in his hair.
He said,
It was just that he broke the covenant.
Right.
he said,
The hair has no strength.
thou shalt not cut your hair.
Well,
or
yeah,
your
yeah.
mind.
Okay, but the real thing was the disobedience.
That's obedience.
It wasn't the hair in itself.
Because that means if that means that look, check this out. Let's say let's say if he acted right all the time and he went bald like you and me. The man ain't got no strength.
Yeah,
He
that
was bald, but I got no strength.
because okay, I don't want to get into Samson, but okay, every time Samson did something great, the Bible would clearly say now, listen to me, the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon Samson. So this meant it wasn't his hair.
Right, all these down.
It was just the Spirit.
Right.
Because he picked up a gate and ran 20 miles with it. But it always said before anything, the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon Samson.
So,
It was God.
but Brother Monroe, when they cut his hair and they blinded him, his strength left him.
The glory departed from him then.
Exactly.
Because he
It
was
had not came
disobedient.
back. It had not came back.
Yeah, he was disobedient.
Right.
That's why. That was the whole thing. He was disobedient to God.
And then look, it didn't come back until what? He fell under obedience of God.
That's another thing. That's when his strength came back.
When he
He
fell under
just said,
obedience
God,
of
just give me utmost strength. See, he started calling on the God again. That's when and the Bible says that he killed more Philistines then than he did, because the whole thing fell on.
Yeah,
But he, like the pastor said, he called upon the Lord.
yeah.
And that's when our strength come back.
Right.
We fall weak, we fall back on God. God, he
But if you ever read it. Every time he did something, the Bible would say the Spirit came mightily upon Samson. Every time he did something, like that, a miracle, but it said, he didn't just do it because they said Samson was not a big man, he was an ordinary sized man. We can't go by what we see on TV.
Yeah.
He looked like a giant. He was an ordinary sized man.
That's right.
But it's just the power of God that did it.
Because they didn't have no weights then.
Yeah, it was just the power of God.
They had some boulders.
Oh yeah, they still got the little boulders. Yeah, but it was the power of God. It wasn't so much in his heart. But he broke the covenant when he did that. Okay, what we at, 13? Yeah, because you start, word talked about, she was making a vow and said no razor would come upon his head. Okay, and it came to pass, as he continued praying, as she continued praying, that Eli marked her mouth. Now Hannah, she spake in her heart only with her lips. In other words, she wasn't speaking out loud, but she was praying. Okay. But her voice was not heard. Therefore, Eli thought that she had been drunk. And this remind me of Pentecost. You remember?
Oh,
They said these men are drunk because they were speaking in tongues. They thought this man was drunk, and I think Peter said, "What was?" He said, "No, it's only the
third hour.
9 o'clock in the morning. These men ain't drunk. Third hour in the morning, basically. That's what he said. Third hour of the day is like 9 o'clock.
And then going back earlier too, I don't know if we covered this. I didn't read earlier this time. Is that it said that they had already feasted, and she got up early to go.
Right? Yeah.
They was already feasting, but not to call him and his wife, a husband, a drunk, because the Bible also said earlier that he would give for all the family when he went up to offering.
Right.
So he was not like a guy that was like, what's that guy who was a drunk guy?
Oh, that fell off and one was drunk and fell off and broke his neck.
Yeah, him. He wasn't
Well, I don't think it was her. Yeah, he was drunk and fell backwards, broke his neck.
So he wasn't like that because so he honored God, but he didn't mind feasting.
Mm-hmm.
But Hannah said she didn't want none of it because she wanted to go before God
And pray.
And pray.
For a son. And notice he said, wonder what? This ain't got no. Why did he say a man child, not a child?
Because he hasn't distinguished between men.
Go ahead.
Oh boy, my
So-
kid's in the office.
Oh, because he has to,
Yeah, the microphone.
okay, because he has to say, that it's a man. It's not that it's a man's world, but
Okay, here's why. Here's why. Because the first man child that opened the womb is blessed.
that's right.
And get your inheritance.
They get the but the
But get the inheritance too.
Right. And they get the inheritance too.
Mm-hmm.
But the first male child that opened the womb is blessed of the Lord.
Right. And also, she clearly said a man child. She, she could have just said a child. But she told Lord she wanted a man child.
Right. And like I said, not that because I guess I was looking at that blessing that comes down, not the the fact of that.
And also, you take the man, it would carry on the name. The name.
And she was the oldest one. I mean, she was the first wife.
I don't know. Was she?
Yes, she was the first wife. Because it mentions her name first. Then it mentions the next one's name,
Peniah.
Peniah. But but Hannah, then said Peniah had children.
Yeah, she had children.
Hannah,
Yeah, was
barren.
barren. Had no. Yeah,
I
she
mean,
had.
she was the first. So the inheritance, like you said, is gonna, regardless that she had kids, the inheritance always goes to that first wife, that oldest child, right? Am I right here? I mean,
Well, Hannah was basically. Once again, we don't know everything, but it's God's plan that God had way back in eternity past that Hannah was going to have a great prophet,
Right.
Samuel.
Right.
That's all I can say. I mean, we don't understand the whole thing, but it was God's plan
Right.
because God could have opened her womb earlier.
Right. And
But God, everything has a plan and a time.
And see, and your teaching here today is not going to also talk about what happened after. Because like last week, I thought we were going to do some more other ones on that one, but it's just for one week, right?
Oh yeah, but yeah,
You don't get to see the fullness of what happened.
right.
Because she, even though she's going to give up her son, she's going to have more children.
Yeah, she had more children after that.
Right.
But Samuel, actually, I can't think of it. He had, back during the biblical time, everybody had a name. It was a specific name, but that was God's plan for Samuel because he was going to be a great prophet.
Right.
And I'm going to throw a curve
Was
in
he the
that.
last prophet too?
Yeah, he was the last prophet. I'm going to throw a curve. What tribe was Samuel from? It tells us.
Was not Judah.
Ephraim.
Right, it wasn't Judah. Right.
Here's another question. How could he be a priest?
Because he said, was it?
No, wait a minute. I thought all the priests come from Aaron
Right.
and Levi.
Well, he's a prophet.
No, he was a priest too.
Right. But remember, I think he had authority. The authority because he was appointed by God. Sometimes that supersedes.
Okay. But what I'm saying, the Bible speaks of all the priests had to be from the tribe of Levi.
Yeah, but see, now we look at the priest, we're looking at the priest as the one that was responsible for the house of God.
Okay.
Samuel was not responsible for the house of
But
God.
he stood in the house of God when Eli died.
Yes, and he offered sacrifices.
Right. So he was a priest.
Yeah, I agree with him. But he was a priest.
You know what?
He took that
Look.
priestly role, but that
Before we
wasn't
be
his-
too long on that, because he was adopted by Eli.
But he still wasn't of that family. See,
But he was adopted by Eli into the priesthood because you remember Eli's two sons were wicked.
Hophni and Phinehas.
Hophni and Phinehas, they were bringing ladies all into the, into the priesthood place and everything. But it says he was adopted
So in other words,
by
God-
Eli.
So God made an exception.
Yes, he did. He was adopted by Eli. Eli was a priest, and his sons were wicked. And after Eli, all of them end up passing.
Right, and the ark being taken away.
Right, yeah. But that's why the Samson was also a priest and a prophet.
Right. That's a good one, Ed. I don't got on that one.
I know, you know why? I had to dig deep to find out. I said, well, wait a minute now. I thought, how can he be a priest and he's not? Because I looked up, I said, wait a minute now, what tribe is it? I said, how can he be a priest?
Right. They got me.
Yeah, he was anointed and adopted by Eli.
Okay.
Because Eli, even though he was wicked, he was a priest.
Right.
Okay, we better move on. Okay, y'all have 15? Huh?
Yes.
Okay, someone read that, please.
And Hannah answered and said, No, my lord, I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord.
Read down the subject. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Count not thine handmaid for a daughter of Bailey.
In other words, hey, I'm from the Lord, I'm not for Baal. You remember we spoke of Baal. Baal is a pagan religion. Okay, you can keep on.
For out of the abundance of my complaint and grief have I spoken hitherto.
Okay, anytime we see hitherto in the Bible, what does that mean?
Going forward,
Here.
No,
Here.
up until now.
yeah.
I mean, everything up until this present time. You see that a lot of time in the New Testament. Hitherto.
Oh, his.
It means up until the present time. Okay, go ahead and read 17 now.
And Eli answered and said, Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant thee thy petition that thou hast asked of him. And,
Go ahead and read 18.
and she said, Let thine handmaid find grace in thy sight. So the woman went her way, and did eat, and her
Continents.
countenance was no more sad.
Okay, in other words, she took, even though we didn't see it, and many times I know when we pray, we expect the answer right then. But she went on and basically said, it's done. I prayed for it and it's done. Even though she didn't see it right then.
Well, let me ask you this then. So you think it was done based on her saying it, or you think it was done based on the priest, Eli saying it?
Well, Eli, but now this shows then he was right with God then because,
Absolutely.
because he also was in agreement with her, basically. He was in agreement with her. But no, I think it was God's weeping. Because the Bible said God hears the cry of those in need.
Right. But do you think she wept nice before then?
Huh?
Do you think she wept? Remember, look what she did. She came and she brought a sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So she honored God with a sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And she just only didn't bring a sacrifice, but she brought it to the attention of the priest.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because he have a direct link with God.
Right.
And so immediately he said, okay, it will happen. Because he's a priest, God's going to honor his word through that priest.
Right. But I believe God honored her word too. Because
But then,
she was righteous.
right, but I agree with you. Right?
It doesn't say nothing negative about her
I
there.
agree she was righteous.
Yeah.
But my only thing with her is why it takes so long. Because,
Well, I mean, it still didn't say that the prayer was answered, but she had faith that it would be.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree, but I believe that also that because here's what I'm saying. I think she prayed many days before this one time.
But God has His time.
Right. But now but now her husband is saying, "Hey, look, I'm better than any of these kids you may want." But she
Yeah.
said, "Look, man,
Ten,
I love
you
you,
used to
right,
think of
10
Ted,
kids." But she said, "Now I got to figure this thing out," and she figured it out, and she figured it out not even with her husband.
Yeah.
She left them home.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, if I go to God, and I gotta you gotta honor the man of God in the house.
Yeah.
I spoke it to the man of God.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being said, then I honored the whole process.
Yeah. True.
And so that's what I was saying. You know, I honor the whole, and then God honors her because she honors the whole.
Well,
process,
yeah, of course she honored them, but I don't know.
You know.
Hey, brother,
Oh.
bro, what's the difference between a wicked person going to church every Sunday and die, and a saved person, a person who's known for going to church every day?
Well, a wicked person, it don't matter whether they go to church, that don't make them righteous. They're still wicked.
It doesn't matter once they die. It doesn't matter where they go after they die. That's what I'm trying to say.
What do you,
You know.
what do you mean?
I think
I'm
a
getting-
good example is Finney, Eli's two sons.
Right,
They were wicked.
yeah,
God brought no honor to them. You know, they was in there and they was in the temple offering sacrifice and doing all the foul things.
right,
But God brought no honor to them. You know,
right.
and so I think as the same.
But even though Eli, okay, here it says righteous, but you know Eli was judged for not
Yep.
for not disciplining his sons.
Right.
But Eli heard from God.
No, Eli-
I understand he heard
But
from
not
God,
that
but he
consequences.
also was judged. The Bible
Yeah,
says
he was judged.
Yeah, and he-
because let me finish, because he knew what his sons were doing and would not correct them.
Right. And he didn't hear the consequences from God.
Yeah, he didn't correct
Samuel heard
them.
the consequences from God.
Yeah.
Right? And he told Eli what the consequences
Yeah, he knew what they were doing in the temple,
Right.
and he wouldn't restrain them. I know sometimes, let's bring it on home. Sometimes it's hard to restrain your kids and grandkids, but sometimes you have to do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, you have to do it. I mean, this is a prime example here.
Right.
That it was a king, and actually, Eli and Finnegan, they were also priests.
Right.
They were also priests.
By
But they were
heritage, because they
corrupt
were
priests.
Levites.
Huh?
Was Eli, there was corrupt priests, right?
But they were still priests.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. What makes it so that they just die? They go to church every day.
They were in the temple every day.
Right back in the
People
temple.
see them
Plus
go
it
to
said they
church.
were bringing women into the temple.
I know people
And I don't
say
even have to
church
go
every
into
day.
that, but you know what I'm
Yeah,
talking
but
about.
you know that's a holy place. People are bringing, going to the temple. That's being holy.
But Eli was guilty of, we all hear it in court, association. He knew it and didn't do anything about it.
And because
Simple as that.
Eli could have had any other priest that could have taken that responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't the only. His two sons were not the only other priest family, Leviticus
Right.
priest. So he could have had him step down and put too much.
Yeah, could have said, hey, y'all can't be in the temple.
Exactly. His two
Simple
others
as that.
that would honor God.
Yeah. Because after that, if you read the Bible, where we get the word Ichabod, it means the glory had departed. I know we hear that about around Christmas, Ichabod, but that's what it really means, the glory departed. In other words, God's spirit departed. Yeah, I'm about out of time. Okay. When we get down to 3, this is basically, it's called Hannah's Song, and this is where Hannah rejoices because God answered her request. Now, I wrote notes on this about, you remember Sennacherib? Sennacherib was king of Assyria. Well, he kept threatening Hezekiah. So what did Hezekiah do?
Pray.
He would write nasty letters to Hezekiah. And of course he wouldn't go, he sent a messenger. You know, back then, I don't know whether I want to be a messenger or not. The kingmaker may kill you. You know, bringing me bad news. Well, anyway, he said he sent it by messenger. So, what did Hezekiah do?
He blessed them.
No. He took the letter into the sanctuary and read it to the Lord and said, Lord, this is what he's talked about your people and you. And God honored that and destroyed them. So when you get bad news from the devil, give it to the Lord. Yeah, that's what he did, yeah. He kept writing threatening things about Israel, what he's going to do, and about Israel's God. And that was it. He said, you read it. That's what Hezekiah took. In the temple said, God, you read it. This is what he said about me.
What about that story about when Baal, when they told him to curse the people of Israel?
Oh, yeah.
You know how that story goes? He blessed
Yeah,
them.
Baal, that was a couple weeks ago lesson.
Yeah.
But Baal was a prophet.
Yeah, but he was an evil prophet.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though he used God. Everybody speaks the name of God ain't a prophet. Because that's what he wasn't a prophet.
Yeah, he was.
And he would use God's name. But he was wicked.
Yeah.
But this is basically, and when we get over to Murray, it speaks, next week is about Murray, and it'll be talking about his song. It's basically the song of rejoicing after she had got her child. That she was basically praising the Lord. And it talks about Hannah's song. So if you hear about Hannah's song, this is what it's speaking about.
What chapter is that in the Bible?
Right where we at.
I ain't got no paper.
It's in the Bible.
That's what I'm trying to ask.
Oh, you can't. I didn't know you didn't have it. It's all in Samuel. 1 Samuel 1, 15 to 28.
So what we gonna be going over?
Well, the lesson's about over now. It's after it.
Next week.
Oh, we'll be talking about in Murray. Matter of fact, if you want to write this down,
I ain't got no pencil and pen.
yeah, we'll be talking about Murray, and I'll just give you the lesson. We'll be,
All right, Brother Monroe, I study it.
huh? You know, if I give you don't have no pencil, right?
No, I don't.
Yeah, right. I know what you
Let's
said.
write down, Brother Monroe.
Okay. It's basically talking about Mary, and it'll be Genesis 3, 14 and 15. Would you just start there, Genesis 3.
All right.
Do I have I'm trying to think, do I have an 8? I'm coming back there, I'll give it to you. If you're talking about Mary, Jesus' mother.
I think she went upstairs, I think.
Yeah, I'll write it down on something, give it to you.
Brother Monroe.
Want me to go find her?
I'll write it down right now. Genesis 3.
I read that in the Bible, Brother Monroe. I laughed. I said,
Huh?
Bill told him to go down there and told some of his messengers to cuss Israel. Then they say, sir, we can't cuss, we bless them.
You can't curse what God's blessed.
Guys are doing it.
That G.O.B. now, huh?
Yes, sir. Okay, let me get out of there. All right, once again, I always thank y'all for y'all participation.